The Big WECK presents Buffalo on the Rise, sponsored by Doctor Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process. Welcome to the television show devoted to local business, Buffalo on the Rise, with your host, Joe Chili. There's an entrepreneurial spirit in Western New York that's putting our area on the cusp of greatness. Each week, Buffalo on the Rise features local business leaders and decision makers who are shaping our future. If it's about local business, we'll talk about it right here, right now, during Buffalo on the Rise.
I'm Joe Chili. On this edition of the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise, I'll introduce you to some hometown leaders of local businesses here to help you and your family. Like attorney Vince LoTempio, here to patently protect your $1 million idea. Denise Ligammare from Western Division Federal Credit Union, home of the great rate for your financing needs. And spring into a super smile with Dr. Kaplansky and his unique dental techniques. All on this edition of the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise. Stay with us. Hi, I'm Joe Chili. Listen to me mornings, 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, the Big WECK. Welcoming our guest today on Buffalo on the Rise from the law office of Vincent LoTempio, Vincent LoTempio himself. How are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
Good to see you today. I'm doing well. Let's talk about a patent attorney. That's exactly what you are. What qualities should people look for? What things should people look for if they're going to get involved with a patent attorney?
Well, I always say the first thing you want to do is be able to have somebody you can communicate with and you can trust. So you got to use your own gut feeling when you're ever doing anything in life. And I also say, look, if you're building a house, get 3 bids from the painter, the electrician, and the plumber. And I'm just a plumber. So, talk to 3 different people and get a feeling for who you feel the most comfortable with.
Now, is it my understanding that somebody just can't go to their attorney? I mean, we have different attorneys for different things. We have attorneys that specialize in issues like elder care and things of this nature. When you talk about patents, what should people say in the event they say, oh, I'm an attorney, I can handle that? It's not just something that every attorney, and I don't want to say every run-of-the-mill attorney, but every general attorney can handle, right?
That's absolutely true. I had to take a special test. It's called the Patent Bar, and I'm a registered patent attorney with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So first thing, you got to have that credential. So if they don't have that credential, then they obviously can't work for you. And and that's one of the reasons why I became a patent attorney, so I could just have a little bit of a niche for myself and I could work as a specialty. And you know what? I should say no other, but very few areas in the law is an attorney allowed to say that they're an expert. But one of them is a patent attorney based on this credential.
Now you're working with inventors? Is that a proper terminology?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so how involved is an inventor, the person that's making whatever it is, or involved in wanting to get a patent? How involved are they in the process?
Well, I would hope that they're very involved, right? And usually they are because they're in love with their invention. Nobody's ever come to me and said, I have this terrible idea, no one's going to like it, right? So everyone's in love with their invention and they know it better than anybody else. And that's one of the things I say to them, you know it so well that your mind fills in the holes. So please try to, describe it to me in a way that anybody could understand. And even if you think that you're telling me everything, try to fill in the holes. It's kind of like, did you ever get the email where they spell everything wrong in it and yet you still can read the whole thing and your mind fills
it in? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that happens so often that, they think it's there because they're so familiar with it, but it's really not there. So yeah, as much detail as possible, you want to be able to describe it. Our job is as an attorney, and what's required by the patent office is that we describe it such that somebody skilled in the art can make and use it. So it's just not the idea of light filling a room, it's how do you do it? It's an incandescent bulb with a copper filament or these LED bulbs, but you have to describe how to make and use it, not just the idea of, oh, we want a light bulb that fills the room.
So it's not just a global explanation. You're breaking it into elements, and maybe elements that may be more sophisticated than something that somebody else has done. Like for instance, if an inventor comes to you, is it difficult to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, that's already been done? Or you have to go back to the drawing board and do something a little bit different?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we do a search, and there's 3 elements that it has to be. It has to be new, no one's ever done it before. It has to be useful, it has to work, and nobody's come to me and said, I have this thing that doesn't do anything. So usually it's new, no one's done it exactly that way. I always say, look, if I told everybody on the planet to make me a table, top, a bottom, and 4 legs coming out of the bottom, we went to everybody in the world, 8 billion people, we'd have different sizes, different shapes, different looks, but they'd all still just be a table, top, a bottom, and 4 legs coming out of them. The most important thing in a patent is that it's a non-obvious improvement over what's already out there. Some improvement that's not obvious to somebody skilled in the art. It's almost like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. And it's always obvious after you see it. Hindsight is 20/20, but how do we make those arguments? If it was so obvious, what are all these improvements doing? And why didn't anybody ever do this before if it was so obvious? We made it faster or slower or harder or whatever improvement it was. If it was so obvious, why hasn't anybody done that yet?
We have about a minute and a half left. Can you give us a story maybe that would illustrate your services, how they made an impact for an inventor or a business?
So one of my most famous clients is Wayne Fromm, and I sent a picture over, I don't know if you can get it up on here, of Wayne with the selfie stick. And he invented the selfie stick, and I got on this show called The $1 Million Genius on the History Channel of all these great inventors, recent inventors. And we had the patent on the selfie stick, and at the time it was before cell phones had the reversible cameras, and so it was basically a selfie stick with a camera on the end of it in a mirror, so you can line it up and take a picture of yourself. So yeah, I mean, once he was the first person to put it up on QVC. He sold like $2 million worth of them in a month, and once he started selling them, they're being copied everywhere. So we couldn't sue everybody, but we sent out cease and desist letters, and we stopped them from being able to sue, and we ended up getting licensing agreements with all these people that were making the copies of it. So just the fact that he had the patent allowed us the opportunity to be able to protect his idea.
Well, I think you've brought up some great ideas today for inventors or potential inventors. Vince LoTempio. For more information and answers to your questions, contact Vincent LoTempio by calling 716-216-5000 or go to lotempiolaw.com. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Vincent LoTempio. And start your weekdays with me, 7 to 9 a.m. on the Big WECK. Hi, I'm Joe Chili. Listen to me morning, 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, the Big WECK. Welcoming our guest today to Buffalo on the Rise, Denise Ligammare, who's the Business Development Manager for Western Division Federal Credit Union. Hi there. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great today.
You always have such a bright smile. So I just always assume that you're doing very well. Tell us a little bit, again, kind of restating what Western Division is.
Okay, well, Western Division, we're a federal credit union, and we service the Western New York community. So there used to be a thing where credit unions, you had to belong to a certain employer group or church or area or community. Western Division, we are a community credit union, so anybody who lives, works, worships in the Western New York area is able to use our financial services.
When I was growing up, I had a buddy of mine that worked for General Motors, and he used to say, I had to go to the credit union for such and such. First time I ever heard of a credit union at that point. Now, everybody that I know.
Now, everybody has access to a credit union. It's not that little hidden secret in a group or whatever anymore. A lot of us are community, so it gives everybody a lot of different financial choices.
So we're into spring. Now, the weather may not say that, okay? But the calendar says we're into spring. So if we start thinking about spring, I don't know, home improvement ideas, to-do lists, projects, How can you help us out?
Okay, well, a couple weeks ago, we did have that 70-degree day, which
Yeah,
sent
that's
everybody
true.
into a frenzy of what do I need to do, whether it be a lot of things inside the house that maybe you're finishing up from the winter time or outside the house. I think a lot of us are thinking outside now, you know, the pool, the backyard, the patio, maybe a new driveway, maybe your roof didn't make it through the winter. So a lot of people, this is the time of year where home equities are a huge product that people start shopping. So when taking a look at the projects that you need to do, there's usually 2 or 3 different types of home equities that are out there. So I just wanted to give a little bit of explanation on what's out there and what you need to do to prepare before you go to a financial institution
Please do.
and start doing your
Please do.
shopping.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing I always tell everybody, whether you're looking to consolidate debt, whether you have a project in mind and a dollar amount in mind, say you're putting in a pool or a roof and you're kind of getting all that type of dollars together, know what you need to spend. So kind of first step, know how much money you're going to need. Second step I always tell everybody is to see what the value of your house is. So you can go to Zillow.com, which is Zillow.com, and you can get a guesstimate of what your house is valued at. And a lot of financial institutions, that'll be the first place that we look. So you want to see if there's equity available in your house, which basically the equity that you're looking for, you take your estimate, you take your mortgage if you owe anything, you figure out the difference, and that's the dollar amount that usually financial institutions will look at. So if you know the dollar amount that you need, and then you look at your house of what your value of the equity is in there, you try and match those two, and those are usually the first 1 and 2 steps to jumping off to start the process.
Is there an advantage from a tax standpoint to home equity loans any longer?
Not any longer.
No?
No, not really. It's very few and far between. You used to be able to write off, you know, some of the interest of a home equity on your taxes and things like that according to projects, if they were home improvement, you could, but if it was consolidation, you couldn't. So a lot of tax laws have changed for that. So I always tell everybody, contact your tax advisor for that.
All right, now you mentioned improvements on the outside, things that you want to do there. But I wonder about how many people have been stuck inside, especially during the last month and a half of winter, and decided, you know what, I don't like the way my kitchen looks anymore, you know, or it's outdated, or they visited somebody over the holidays and their kitchen was so nice.
Or they went to the home show.
Or they went to the home show, exactly
Or they're
right.
watching a lot of DIY on TV of how people's houses look.
Yeah, because when I think, and I'm a novice on any of this, but when I think of, you know, your home's value, I don't necessarily think of things outside. Of course, curb appeal, I guess, is a big thing, right? But also, is it like, you know, your bathrooms and your kitchens and things like that, don't they add to the value of your home?
Absolutely. It always adds to the value of your home. Anytime you do any type of home improvements, think about when you're out house shopping and you walk into a house that's still orange, green, and yellow from 30 years ago, color palette.
Lime green.
Or if you if you walk into a different model home now and it's all spacious and open and light and airy colors and new windows and things like that. So any improvements that you make to your home will always usually add value to the house.
Yeah, at my grandmother's house, you used to have to wear sunglasses to go into the bathroom. Remember those days? Okay, so I totally get that. What about, because we're hearing that the price of cars, we only have a couple of minutes left, price of cars may be going up, all right, because of tariffs, things like this. Shopping, lease versus purchase, do you help people out in these areas?
Absolutely. We have vehicle loans that start as little as 3.99, and we offer the same rate for new, used, refinanced, or lease buyout. So usually a lot of financial institutions or dealers will have different prices for each of those. We offer the same rate across the board. And a lot of people will call us, get pre-approved, go out shopping for a vehicle, or even if you bought the vehicle, and you can even refinance that with us. So say you go to the dealer and it's a Saturday and you weren't planning on buying, you were just window shopping, and then all of a sudden you drive off with the car at like maybe 7, 8, 9% of the dealer financing. As soon as you get that title in 30 days of that car, you can come right back to us and refinance at no fees at the lower interest rate.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a win-win for both.
Yeah, that's great to know. I would never realize. Especially, you would think that soon after getting it, it would be a detriment.
30 days. You can sit there and do it that way. Just like with lease buyouts, a lot of people who have had leases, they have a lot of equity in their car, whether it be low miles or whatever it may be. A lot of people think that to do your lease buyout, that you have to turn it into the dealer or finance with the dealer to do it, and that's not the case. You can actually finance your lease to buy it outside of the dealer. In Western Division, we do those every single day, multiple times, and we can help you walk through the process.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Again, Denise Ligammare from Western Division Federal Credit Union. For more information and answers to your questions, contact Western Division Federal Credit Union by calling 716-500-LOAN, L-O-A-N, or go to westerndivision.org. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Western Division Federal Credit Union. And join me weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on the Big WECK. I'm Joe Chili. You can listen to me mornings on the Big WECK. Joining us today on the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise is Dr. Kaplansky. Doctor, I look at some of the certifications here. I look after your name and it looks like the alphabet, you know, with all, all the different things. Sure. But board certified in implant dentistry, diplomat of the American Board of Oral Implantology. What is it to be a diplomat? What does that exactly mean?
It was a lot of hard work, Joe, so to get to that point. Yes, absolutely. So to become a diplomat of the board, you have to not only perform thousands of implant surgeries, you have to take countless hours of continuing education. You have to pass a rigorous 3-hour written test, and you have to present 7 cases, I believe, your 7 surgeries to the board and defend them in front of people. So it's an oral exam that you have to take.
It's a little bit too much of an examination, I think, for me, but, and I'm sure all of these things are costly as well. It's something that you have to prepare for.
I will tell you the most cost is the cost of what we would call being away from the family, being away from the office. That's where the most, because you have to attend these meetings, you have to go to classes, you have to travel a lot. But I have absolutely no regret. It was a fantastic process, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment that nothing else would.
And you have another family member that is probably going to go into dentistry, right, in school right now.
My son is a D3 in dental school in Buffalo, and I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, and that's something to be proud of, because not everybody wants to go into the family profession, if you will. You know, Doctor, there's so many different things and different firms and different kinds of individuals that are talking about dentistry, and national firms too. You know, when you see for me, when I see something come in, like a national firm, I think of it in terms of, like, Buffalo is known for its hole-in-the-wall restaurants, right. The small restaurants that make it unique, you know what I mean? Yeah. Not the big national firms, you know, you can get those anywhere. And I kind of think it must be the same way with dentistry.
It's a great comparison. So the movement in dentistry is consolidation, so a lot of offices are very corporate right now. We have remained privately owned. It's my private business, and we are very proud of it. And it separates us from the rest because the quality of the work is higher, the attention to detail is better, and patients in general are happier because they see the same provider every time they come. They bond to us, we have a relationship with them, and they feel like family when they come in.
How many implant surgeries do you think you've done?
We do on average about between 800 and 1,000 implants every year.
Really?
Yes.
800 and 1,000. And these individuals come back to you so that you can check to make sure everything is going well?
Yes, we encourage patients to do that every 4 to 6 months. Absolutely.
What, to the average viewer right now, that is dealing with dentures or has dealt with dentures in the past, that has broken teeth, that have had an accident, that have gum disease or whatever it might be, what's their first step?
Very easy, just pick up the phone or send us an email from our website. And the first step usually is a consultation. They come in and they talk to our implant coordinator. We do either a 3D scan, that's a CAT scan, at no charge to the patient, or we take a panoramic x-ray, again at no charge to the patient. And they get to sit down and talk with implant coordinator and me. Sometimes that consultation lasts for an hour or longer. And we spend all the time with them to pretty much explain all their options, go over what the process would be to do the treatment, and they leave with a very good knowledge and understanding of what to expect. But that's their first step, right? And then usually after the initial consultation, we schedule what's called a records appointment. That's when they come in and we take photographs, we take digital scans of their mouth, of their face. All that gets digitized in the computer, and then we use that to build up their digital sort of a case virtually, and then that goes into surgery.
And this is an evolving process that you're doing, right? The Teeth Now process isn't just something that's stoic, it's fluid, right?
No, absolutely. So the Teeth Now process means that they get their permanent, meaning non-removable teeth within 24 hours of a surgery. Then they go through the healing, and then they get their final or permanent appliance, usually about 5 months after the initial procedure. But they have fixed teeth throughout the entire time. So the process is evolving. There's constantly updates on digital technology out there, and we are right at the cutting edge of all new and digital technologies out there. So we incorporate them into our process constantly.
The other thing I have to say that is very impressive to me, not only all the certifications that you have, but when I look you up online, to see the positive testimonials from people, even down to the fact of saying that you're very affable, you're very nice, you're a great guy. I mean, when they talk about these things, it's more than just what you do professionally, it's how you treat them personally.
Thank you, Joe. It's really humbling to see how many of our patients say good things about us. And we work hard. It's not just me, it's the entire office, my entire team. So all my assistants and hygienists and office staff, we all work towards the same goal, and it is to make patients happy.
And if people are told they're not a candidate for implants, you can tell them maybe differently that they may still be a candidate, correct?
Absolutely. So there's still a small percentage that may not qualify, but most of the time we say, yes, you are a candidate.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think to me, it sounds like it's a simplified process. It is something, when I hear implants, kind of scares me a little bit, but your process seems to be something that I would be agreeable to. So I think that it's something that you've done very well, and I compliment you on that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
For more information and answers to your questions, contact Dentistry by Dr. Kaplansky by calling 716-772-7500 or go to drkaplansky.com. Promotional and sponsorship consideration provided by the following.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Big WECK Presents Buffalo on the Rise. For information on this and other shows, go to our website, bigweck.com, and find out how you can participate on the program if you're a hometown business. I'm Joe Chili. Thanks for watching and listening to the Big WECK, Buffalo's oldie station.
The Big WECK Presents Buffalo on the Rise was sponsored by Dr. Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process.